There comes a time in life when the roles between parents and children start to shift. You spend decades raising them, guiding them, sacrificing for them. But then one day, you realize something has changed. Maybe they ignore your advice. Maybe they dismiss your opinions. Maybe they talk down to you. Or worse, they make you feel like a burden. And it hurts. If your children have started treating you with less respect than you deserve, you might feel frustrated, even angry. You might want to remind them of everything you've done for them, of the years you spent putting them first. But here's the truth. Getting angry won't fix it. In fact, it often makes things worse. Instead, there's a much more effective way to regain their respect without fighting, without arguments, and without resentment. Today, I'm going to share 6 things you can do when your children don't respect you. These are powerful shifts, simple changes in the way you respond, that can completely transform the way they see you. Some of these might surprise you, but if you stay until the end, you'll discover how to regain your place as a respected, valued figure in their lives. Now, let's get started. Action 1. Stop chasing their approval. One of the biggest mistakes parents make, especially as they grow older, is trying too hard to please their children. Maybe you've noticed yourself doing it. You go out of your way to accommodate them. You say yes when you want to say no. You put their needs ahead of your own, hoping that if you just do enough, they'll appreciate you more. But here's the painful truth. The more you chase their approval, the less they respect you. You know what I mean. Respect isn't earned through self-sacrifice. It's earned through self-respect. If you're always bending over backward, always giving in, always trying to keep the peace, what you're really teaching them is that your feelings come second. And once they start believing that, it's easy for them to take you for granted. I once knew a woman named Margaret, a strong, independent lady in her younger years. But as she got older, she started letting her children make all the decisions. She rearranged her schedule around their needs, kept her opinions to herself, and even ignored the way they spoke down to her. "I just want to keep the family together," she told me once. But what happened? Her children stopped valuing her. They saw her as someone who would always adjust, always agree, always stay silent. She thought she was keeping the peace, but what she was really doing was losing her voice. If your children don't respect you, the first step isn't to demand it. It's to stop acting like you need it. Set boundaries. Say no when you need to. Speak your mind, even if they don't like what you have to say. Because the moment you start respecting yourself, they'll start seeing you differently. And in time, that respect will come back to you. Action 2. Don't argue. Lead by example. When your children dismiss your opinions, talk over you, or treat you with disrespect, your first instinct might be to argue, to remind them of everything you've done, to demand that they listen. But let me tell you something that will save you years of frustration. Arguing never works. Think about it. When was the last time you convinced someone to respect you by fighting for it? Respect isn't won through words. It's earned through presence, through the way you carry yourself, through the way you respond when others try to test your patience. If you meet disrespect with anger, all you're doing is confirming what they already believe, that they have power over you. I knew a man named Frank, a retired teacher who had spent his life leading a classroom with confidence. But at home, his grown children had started treating him like an afterthought. They ignored his advice, dismissed his concerns, and sometimes even laughed when he tried to correct them. At first he argued back, trying to prove he still deserved their respect. But the more he fought, the worse things got. Then one day, Frank made a change. Instead of arguing, he started listening, really listening. He stopped chasing respect with words and instead carried himself like a man who already had it. He spoke calmly, with wisdom, without the need to win. And slowly his children started noticing. They saw a man who wasn't desperate for their approval, who didn't need to prove himself, who simply was a figure of strength that if your children don't respect you, don't fight them for it. Show them what respect looks like by the way you treat yourself. Keep your dignity, speak with confidence, and most importantly, never lower yourself to their level. Because when you hold your ground with grace, they will feel it, and in time, they'll follow your lead. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 2 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now, let's move forward. Action 3. Withdraw your emotional dependence. One of the hardest lessons to learn as you grow older is that you can't depend on your children for emotional fulfillment. You may love them deeply, and you may want them to love and respect you in return. But the moment they sense that you need them to feel valued, the power in the relationship shifts. Here's the reality. People, even your own children, respect those who are emotionally independent. When you rely on them for validation, affection, or attention, it puts pressure on them, and instead of feeling grateful, they start feeling burdened. They might pull away. They might start treating you with impatience or even irritation. And the more you chase their love, the less freely they give it. I once knew a woman named Helen. She was a kind-hearted mother who had given everything to her children. As they grew older and got busy with their own lives, she found herself waiting by the phone, hoping they'd call. When they didn't, she called them instead. Often, too often, she reminded them how much she missed them, how she wished they would visit more, but instead of bringing them closer, it pushed them away. They started seeing her calls as an obligation instead of something they looked forward to. Then one day, Helen did something different. She stopped waiting. She stopped calling first. Instead, she started focusing on herself, picking up new hobbies, going out with friends, taking care of her own happiness. And something surprising happened. Her children started calling more. They started respecting her time, seeing her as someone with a full life of her own. The lesson is simple. The less you depend on your children to make you feel needed, the more they will start valuing your presence. When you show them that you can stand strong on your own, they will start respecting you, not out of obligation, but because they genuinely admire the life you've built for yourself. Action 4. Set boundaries and enforce them. One of the biggest reasons children lose respect for their parents is because the parents let them. If you allow your children to talk to you disrespectfully, dismiss your opinions, or treat you as if your time and feelings don't matter, they will keep doing it. Not because they are bad people, but because people, especially family, will always treat you the way you allow them to. Setting boundaries doesn't mean cutting off your children or creating conflict. It means calmly and firmly deciding what kind of behavior you will and will not accept. And more importantly, it means enforcing those boundaries when they are crossed. I remember a man named Robert, a retired businessman who had spent his life running a company with discipline and confidence. But when it came to his adult children, he struggled. They interrupted him when he spoke, dismissed his concerns, and even criticized the way he lived his life. At first, he tolerated it. He told himself it wasn't worth the fight, but over time, he realized that every time he stayed silent, he was teaching them that their behavior was acceptable. So one day, Robert changed his approach. When his son interrupted him, he calmly said, "I'll continue speaking when you're ready to listen." When his daughter dismissed his opinion, he simply replied, "You don't have to agree with me, but I expect you to respect me." And when they continued to push his limits, he made it clear, if they couldn't treat him with basic respect, he wouldn't be spending time with them. And you know what happened? They started listening. At first, they resisted, but over time, they realized their father wasn't backing down. They saw that he valued himself enough to demand respect, and because of that, they started giving it to him. If your children don't respect you, it's time to ask yourself, are you allowing it? Because if you don't set boundaries, they won't set them for you. And if you don't stand up for yourself, no one else will. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 4 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now, let's move forward. Action 5. Stop giving without appreciation. One of the quickest ways to lose respect is to keep giving to people who don't appreciate it. And as parents, we do this more often than we realize. We give our time, our energy, our support, even when it's not acknowledged, even when it's taken for granted, even when we're met with nothing but entitlement. But here's the truth. When you give to someone who doesn't appreciate it, you don't build love. You don't build respect. You build expectation. They stop seeing your kindness as something valuable and start seeing it as something they are entitled to. And the moment you stop, they don't feel grateful. They feel inconvenienced. I once knew a man named George, a father who had always been generous with his children. He helped them financially whenever they needed it, dropped everything to assist them, and even rearranged his life to accommodate their needs. But instead of gratitude, he was met with complaints. They didn't say thank you, they expected more. And the worst part? When he finally needed their help, they were too busy. Then one day, George made a change. He stopped overextending himself. He stopped offering help before it was even asked. And most importantly, he started saying no when he needed to. At first, his children were frustrated. They didn't understand why he wasn't bending over backward for them anymore. But over time, something shifted. They started valuing his time. They started appreciating his efforts because suddenly they realized that his generosity wasn't unlimited. It was a gift, not a guarantee. If you feel like your children don't respect your time, your effort, or your kindness, take a step back. Ask yourself, Are you giving more than you should? And if so, what would happen if you stopped? Because when you teach people that your generosity is conditional on respect, they will start treating it that way. Action 6. Build a life outside of them. One of the most powerful ways to regain your children's respect is to show them that your happiness doesn't revolve around them. As parents, it's natural to devote ourselves to our children, to make them the center of our lives. But as we get older, that dynamic shifts. And if you've spent your entire life prioritizing them, they may start seeing you as someone who has nothing else going on. People respect those who have their own purpose, their own interests, their own sense of fulfillment. And if your children see that you rely on them for entertainment, validation, or meaning, they might start feeling suffocated, or worse, they might start seeing you as someone who has no life of their own. I knew a woman named Eleanor, a widow in her late 70s. After her husband passed, she poured everything into her children's lives, checking in constantly, giving advice they didn't ask for, expecting them to fill the space that her husband once did. But instead of drawing them closer, it pushed them away. They visited less, their calls became shorter, and Eleanor felt more alone than ever. Then she made a choice. She joined a book club. She started traveling with friends. She volunteered at a local community center. She stopped making her children the center of her world, and something incredible happened. Her children started reaching out more. They were curious about what she was doing. They admired her independence. They respected her. If your children don't respect you, ask yourself, do they see you as someone with a full, meaningful life, or do they see you as someone waiting around for their attention? Because when you show them that you are living, not just existing, they will start seeing you in a completely different light. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 6 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Final thoughts. Respect is not something you can demand from your children. It's something you inspire through the way you carry yourself, through the way you set boundaries, and through the way you live your life. If they have started treating you with less care, less consideration, or less respect, don't waste your energy getting angry. Instead, shift your approach. Stop chasing their approval, because the less you need it, the more they'll give it. Lead by example, because your dignity speaks louder than your words. Withdraw your emotional dependence, because the more self-sufficient you are, the more they'll respect your presence. Set boundaries, because people will only treat you as well as you require them to. Stop giving without appreciation, because when generosity is taken for granted, it loses its value. And most importantly, build a life outside of them, because people respect those who have their own purpose, their own joy, and their own sense of fulfillment. If you do these things, something incredible will happen. Your children will start seeing you in a different light, not as someone waiting for their attention, but as someone who commands respect simply by being who they are. And in time, that respect will come back to you, not because you demanded it, but because you earned it. Thank you for joining us today. We'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment below and share one thing you learned today and how you plan to use it in your life. Your thoughts are important to us, so don't hesitate to share them. Reading your comments gives us great motivation and encouragement. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please like, subscribe, and share. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Thanks for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.